that's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
She works on mine.
Well, that's a lot. Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Grumble.
Well,
Trustee Grumbles, we're ready whenever you are.
okay. Apologies for doing that mistake. All right, Michelle.
We're good.
Welcome, everyone. Today is Monday, March 7th, 2022. We are here for the Orange Township Board of Trustees meeting. I'll call this meeting to order. Ms. Graff, please call a roll.
Sure. Mrs. Faust?
Here.
Ms. Knapp?
Here.
Mr. Grumbles?
Here, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Any public comment today? Okay, hearing none, then I'll invite Trey Bell Energy.
Okay, great. Good morning, trustees. Scott Belcastro from Trey Bell, and here to talk about the renewal of your natural gas aggregation. If you could just, it's our new video, it's pretty fancy, sorry. If you could just hit the next slide, that'd be wonderful. I thought since there's a lot of new faces for me here, we'd walk through a quick slideshow, and if you could just work with me, I don't know if it auto advances or whatnot, but Trey Bell was founded in 2010, and our primary mission here is to help clients manage their energy in a very complex energy markets and just kind of do what's right. This is a picture of us here at the Ohio Township Association. What sets us apart is our community. We are community aggregation oriented, consultative. We run an RFP. If you could, you're gonna have to find a way to pause that thing. I can't remember how to turn it off. Pressure's on. We have set repeatedly lowest rates in the market, which means that our RFP and our RFQ process does work quite well, and we're going to try to get that thing to pause out if you can.
Just getting what I'm working with. I'll just have to do it.
There you go. Sorry about that. If you could go back to one slide before it, that'd be awesome. Perfect. We have created, Trey Bell's created proprietary software and a new portal to help you as trustees keep you informed. A lot of I can't think of hardly any broker consultants that actually do what we've created, but it is made to be more transparent, quick and easy access to information, reliable customer service team, meaning we do have people at our office who answer phones on behalf of your residents, which is another very unique thing. It costs money. Most people don't want to spend that money to do that, but we do. Next slide, please. We've been moving more and more towards renewable energy. Actually, the whole United States has. And as you guys may have seen, the city of Columbus is we've managed that program. We are moving to 100% clean energy renewable by the year 2020, mid 2024. And it's all being generated here in Ohio, which is unique. Orange Township, for those of you who don't know it, the Orange Park Bridge we put in to help out with some of the costs. I think it was Lisa, maybe you can recall, was it like $65,000 to run a line from Route 23 to that little bridge park? We will help you guys put a $15,000 solar right on there with batteries. And we give you guys, I think, paid for half of it through community grants. So it was an outstanding little solution. If you guys can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. We've already talked about that. Let's go to the next one. We'll go to the next slide, please. I just wanted to tell you guys, the question is, even this morning was, do you compete with IGS? Yes and no. We are a consultant, like your insurance agent. We're an agent also of all these suppliers. So IGS, we've worked with them in the past and continue to work with them now. We produce some of the most competitive rates because of our RFP process. We've gone out to bid, generally speaking, on all of our stuff, and it has helped us and created new relationships, new suppliers, which one of them happens to be here today to speak with you. But we've developed these new suppliers to keep the markets competitive and to keep rates down. It does benefit ultimately the community and the customers. Most of our competition, they work with one supplier. There's no competition there. And hell, even if they tell you that they're doing an RFP, it usually is a backdoor deal where it's not actually legitimate. But look, we're doing what we think is the right thing and letting the markets do their job. So next slide, please. We've talked a little bit about our software and portal. We've been developing this for quite a long time. It is now available for your fiscal officer or trustees. You can have access to it. The markets in energy are increasingly becoming more and more complex. They're becoming lots and lots of data driven, and it's really important to get your arms around the data, because without that information, it's very difficult to come here and stand before you, not give you good information or good recommendations. So next slide, please. Easy and enjoyable process. Maybe it's not always enjoyable, but it is easier than it used to be. We continue to make our process easier for your residents, and I think that's really what the focus is to make it easy for them to get into the program, easy to communicate with them, easy for them to get out of it. And those folks where you have the rare moments where they're actually just hate the government, hate the program, we have programs now like Perma Out, where they can get out permanently, not having to call in every couple years when they get the letters. It's a very nice, it's a nice service that we now offer. Client availability, as I mentioned earlier, Myra Hernandez is at our office. She answers phones all day. I'm there. I answer phones. Myra also is Spanish speaking, so anybody who's is speaking Spanish can call in and get information as well. And I think that's also been pretty nice. It's funny for me because you don't have it happen a lot, but when someone calls in, you start hearing her going off, you're like, oh, that's cool. She's able to handle that. Go ahead, next slide. And the next slide, please. Community involvement. We typically, Traybell is not a firm that just comes in here, talks to you guys about selling you a product. We have been throughout all of our programs involved. I mean, there was the slide over there at Sunbury for their Sound and Sizzle, various golf outings, 2 pictures down there to the right, Madison Township and Franklin. They have a Christmas parade every year where Santa goes, kids all come to a school, they hand out stuff, but we hand out school supplies and candy and small hats and gloves and stuff like that. Next slide, please. We've been involved, for example, Harlem has a Codes for Kids. We've given some money to the kids for anybody, frankly, on that one, for coats. Down there on the right, Sugar Creek was in a need for a defibrillator. We provided a grant for that and was able to save 2 people's lives, actually, the very next day when they put it into service. I was pretty, there's nothing more gratifying than hearing that. Next. Traybell, when we started in 2010, I think we had no government agri programs. One of the first programs we did was with Sunbury and Border Energy. One of the previous owners of Border is here today, but we in 10 years, a little over now, we're over 160 combined electric and natural gas programs. I think that puts us second largest, with having the city of Columbus, second largest consulting firm in Ohio, probably the second largest governmental aggregator in Ohio, although the PUCO did say at one of the last meetings that we are the largest, but I don't know if that's true, but I'll run with it, okay? We continue to grow our portfolio. We won some business last week. We continue to take programs from our competitors just because of the way we do business, and people immediately realize the way we do things is much different when they feel pressured by their existing broker or new broker. It just becomes very obvious who's got the right intentions here. So if you could go to the next slide, please. And we're going to transition right into the discussion about natural gas markets. This is important for you as trustees because the one thing that's been happening I would say in the last couple of years is this issue of volatility. Natural gas markets, if you go back, honestly, 6 years, I've been talking about the two W's, war and weather, and those are the two things that are completely destabilizing in our markets. As of February of 22, natural gas has increased 154% since January of 21. The volatility in the natural gas markets is crazy. On top of that, the Federal Energy Commission has approved some other transmission increases. So folks are feeling these changes quite a bit. If I've highlighted, and I don't know if you guys have this one right here, if you could pull that out real quickly. Ben, did I give you the two? You're good. Here you go. I think I actually have two more. There you go. No worries. So if you go back and just to start here at January of 2020 or even 2021, let's just do 2021 because it is the one that I've highlighted at $2.40 an MCF. And then you go down to, which one is that? Is that August? July is at $1.49. The reason I'm pointing that out is because that's like the lowest in like 20 years. Okay, so you go from $2.15 in 2020, $2.40 in 21, November of $6.20, $4.22 of January, and then back up to $6.20. This volatility is unlike and unprecedented. I mean, it's just. I think what's been driving it a lot, I mean, there's a lot of factors, but I think one of the primary drivers has been the volatility of our weather and the crazy weather patterns we've been having, in addition to a number of other issues. But I think that's a large driver of this. And we're going to, with the utility, which is where we're at in Columbia, how they create their rate is the NYMEX plus this adder. And the adder is like, so NYMEX is the price of natural gas. It's a market-driven price. It's not something I can affect. It is what it is. Then you have the adder, which the Columbia sets annually. And the reason I'm here before you today is because we were waiting for the adder to be set. It gets done in late January, takes effect April 1st. And so we finally found out what that is. The adder is akin to like transmission cost, storage, profit. What's the other ones? Line losses. Sorry, line losses is like there's bleed off through the pipes, etc. So the adder cost to natural gas. I have ancillaries right there. We now know what that is with the utility. It's good for 1 year, and so we can now make some decisions about what we want to do with our program and the renewal of our program. Without knowing that ahead of time, we were a little kind of operating in the dark, and I didn't want to move too quickly before we did something. Next slide, please. I'm going to go to this one, this right here, if you don't mind. It's the price of electric, and I've been saying since really, I know this is super hard to see, but really right around here in May, it's been going up slowly. All right. Price of electricity as well as the price of natural gas. And look at the steepness of the curve. It didn't just go up a little bit. I mean, this thing is just ramped up. And And it's been really difficult navigating these markets because it's hard to know, will it come back down? You know, when you're sitting back here and you're looking in 2021 in August, September, and you're like, oh, it'll come back down. And it just keeps going up and up and up and up. On you know, crazy increases in such a very short periods of time. So it's made our job as your consultant very difficult to bring recommendations that make sense for the residents. Next slide, please. Now that the utility has gotten past this, we have two things that we would like for this trustees here today to do finally, and we do have a solution. We want to approve a new natural gas agreement. Yours expires in April, so we want to make sure that we're doing this in a timely fashion to transition from one program to the next smoothly without interruption. And then the second thing is an addendum to our trade bill contract. The addendum I don't need done today. I'll forward that to Michelle later, and I'll explain more on what that is in a second. The natural gas contract, what we're envisioning here is a 2-year program. It's a 2-year contract with the supplier. The adder changes annually, resets annually in line with the utilities adder. But in the year one, out of the gate, we're going to do a 2% off the Columbia adder, which is currently at 0.165 per CCF. The point is, it's not that it's some earth-changing savings, but what it does going to do for us is the ability to convert a fixed rate for the duration of the term, okay? What we're going to be able to do now is, let's just say that we're 6 months into this and the price of natural gas shifts back down, okay? There's a trigger that's going to allow us to convert that program into a fixed rate. If you go back to this right here, the natural gas prices, what it's going to do is give us a rate that's fixed and hopefully, you know, in that 45 cents per CCF fixed, which will help smooth out some of these ups and downs that we're seeing more and more lately. And I think that's really what we're after here. Our markets have become extremely volatile. This is really just a risk management tool for us at this point. There were groups that were slightly less expensive, but we're also now realizing some other issues. We have supplier risk. One of the suppliers that we had has been pushing things through that we don't agree with, meaning cost, and then we have to fight to get it back out. We had another one 2 weeks or last week tell us that they want to call force majeure because of the war in Ukraine. What the hell's Ukraine got to do with what's happening here in Ohio or U.S.? Actually, nothing at this point. We're already at capacity to send and ship out liquid natural gas, so it's not really hurting us. What we have here is what we have here. So at the end of the day, it was really, we did such a good job. We were at 37 cents fixed rate for their program. We're at such a good rate, they just want out of the program because they can't, you know, every time someone calls in and says, I want the fixed rate that we promised to give you, they can't really, it's a loss for them. They didn't really hedge their book correctly is ultimately what's happening. But look, we do have these issues with suppliers. All right, so let me just finish this up here and bring it to a head. Here with me today is Andy Mitri, and Andy, say hi. He's from Archer Energy. All right, Andy is waved, and he is from out of Powell. Is it Powell? Yeah, his office is in Powell. He used to be Border Energy. Border Energy has, I believe, done business with Orange Township in the past. Sold it to IGS many years ago. Started Archer more recently, and so I said to Andy, are you ready to do aggregation again? He said, yes. We're finally. He's already exponentially grown his company to the point where we can look at aggregation again. The reason Andy's here is because I trust him to do the right thing. He's always done the right thing, done right by all of our communities. And some of these headaches that we're having from some of the other suppliers, I think will be alleviated by his involvement with the program. Needless to say, if any of our trustees or anybody in this room wants to go see him, his office is 5-10 miles away. You can knock on the door and say, what are you doing? So, but anyways, here's how we think this is going to work. Again, 2-year contract with Archer, 2% off the adder. Once the rates come down to a point where we believe that they're going to be low enough, we can trigger this thing into a fixed rate and then lock it in for the duration. We can even lock it in for a duration that goes beyond that if given permission. But I think it's the prudent thing to do in this volatility and with the war happening. I know I just said the war has not a ton to do with us. It doesn't, but it does, but doesn't. It does emotionally because people are trading emotionally in the market right now. The day that the war was announced, gas ran up again. And then guess what it did by the end of the day? Dropped all the way back down. It was ridiculous. But those are the kinds of things we need to be quicker on our feet and able to meet your customers' needs. I'm going to pause here for a moment, answer any questions, and then we'll go from there.
So do we currently have an aggregate program? Like, I'm a resident. We have IGS for our electric. I didn't realize we had there was an option of one for gas for the residents. Is that something we've had for a while?
Yeah, so we didn't have one for a while. Orange Township did the electric first, and then they moved to natural gas. What was it, like 2 years ago? I think it was. Yeah, roughly 2 years ago. And the township approved it, and most of it is Columbia Gas up here, with a little bit of a cooperative. We cannot affect cooperatives, the pricing there. We can't. It's not a publicly traded utility, and as a result, we just have stuck to doing the Columbia. Now, Trustee Knapp has brought to our attention some piece of legislation that says that we may be able to, if we bring enough customers, to offer those customers in the cooperative this opportunity, which I think would be beneficial to them. But we are still running that through our legal group before we do anything. And I think we should have some more discussion about any potential backlash from suburban natural gas that might come of that. So I want to cross that bridge, but not today. Yeah, not at this meeting. If Michelle, could you help me out for a moment? You brought up something I wanted to touch on. Can you go back to the electric slide real quick? This is the second time I've done this and glossed right over it. Yeah, can you see it, the red at the very top there? I did a quick thing for Orange Electric is at 477. If you're a resident out there, AEP's rate is at 5.3 today. It's been over 5 cents since last June, and we're absolutely killing it in the market right now for you guys. Please take advantage of the program. Since June of 21 through to date, just year to date, we've put $322,699 back into the community. So congratulations for that. It's a tremendous savings, and believe me, that number is going to be enormous by the time this is all done, because you guys are indeed fixed through December of 23. It's a good position to be in right now. I will tell you that based on where the market's been, in June of this year, AEP Ohio's rates are going up again. They're all set by auction. It's at 5.3 today. Probably going to be up for 5s. Maybe it'll get to 6, but we'll see. The other auction, one took place in November. Another one takes place tomorrow. So I'll know a lot more after tomorrow. Okay. I am asking today for trustees to make a motion to hire Archer Energy on a 2-year contract on the variable rate with the ability to trigger to a fixed rate. That's what the motion I would like to have.
I guess for the trustees and we have not reviewed the contract yet, so is there a way we can receive it and then take action at the next board meeting on the 21st? Yeah,
so what we recommend doing is approving what I just mentioned, subject to your council's review, and that'll give you time to review it, and you guys can make changes accordingly.
Rather wait.
Yeah, I think it could be a consensus item, and then I would take it to formalize at the next trustee meeting.
So,
when is the next? Hold on a minute. Let's time out. When's the next meeting?
21st.
When?
March 21st.
Okay. Your program runs out in April. and I've got formalities that I have to get through. And so what this would mean, when I say there's formalities, I need 45 to 60 days, and we're really on the edge of this at this point. 45 days moving backwards from your existing program expiring to get it to go seamlessly into the next program. You're asking why is that? I need 10 days to file the opt-out letter with the utility, and I need 21 days for your residents to review it. And then there's a switch time frame also in there, like 10 days or whatever. Okay. So between all those time frames, if we don't, your residents would all have to then revert back to the utility for a month and then come back into the new program. And it does tend to be like there's a lot of then notifications sent from the utility as a result of that. And it just creates a lot of havoc. So
When does it expire? What day in April? End of month?
end of month April. Yep.
So, okay, so this would be just 2% off of the, like, Columbia's, their market rate, whatever that thing's called.
They're adder.
Adder.
The adder part. Yep.
So, and you said it's what is the current contract?
What's the current contract rate?
It's sitting at about $1.70 right now. Yep.
Dollar.
Well,
Hours.
0.170 per CCF. Yeah.
Our current
0.17.
contract?
What's that?
Our current contract?
Yes. This new one at 0.165 is taking effect April 1st, but it's backwards. You know what I'm saying? It was at $1.70 with the utility. It was actually lower than that before that, but remember I talked about the transmission costs approved by the Federal Energy Commission? Those were pushed through and it raised the rate up. These were unavoidable. I can't skirt those, but there will be some money coming back, we believe, from the suppliers now that the Federal Energy Commission has approved it. We don't know what the number is yet, but there's going to be a difference refunded to residents.
So do you work with residents who have suburban natural gas or just residents who have Columbia?
Just Columbia.
That's what we're.
That's a pretty small percentage of our total residents. Isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a couple thousand. It's not small. Yeah.
So what's the CCF that we're paying right
It's
now?
not small,
Like
but it's a
the-
small proportion for us.
So let me
What are residents paying now on their first CCF on their bill?
so it's this NYMEX, as you see the settlement every month. Take this 62. So what all it is, you got to move your decimal point over a little bit, and that will that'll get you in the correct numbers. But it's roughly 79 cents a CCF, almost 80 cents per CCF.
That's the rate currently?
Yeah.
Columbia gas rate, okay.
Yeah.
And then what would this take it to?
Well, 2% off is like 3 cents off of that, so 76 cents a CCF.
And then what is the contract, like what are people paying on their bill? Isn't it
79 cents a CCF.
the current, with the township, we are paying
Yeah.
79 cents?
Yeah.
Sorry,
Because-
it's less than that.
Sorry, I would need to look it up real quick.
Could you
Let
look at-
me get us back on what the purpose is. The purpose is somewhat saving, which we're providing to the residents. The second piece of this is a mechanism for being able to manage risk, and that's really the largest, managing the volatility and hence managing risk. I mean, these are just unprecedented times. The energy markets haven't seen this much volatility in a long time. We're just here to manage the risk. The program being switched from one to the other in the contract, you guys can still put a kibosh on the contract if you don't like it, all right, by approving it today. And I don't want you guys to feel like we're trying to shove a contract on you, but we've been since November, December January, February, looking for an opportunity to buy in the market. It just hasn't happened. Archer Energy was, last time we talked about natural gas programs, he wasn't even doing them. So, I was trying to come up with a solution to get us to a renewal, and I found it, but it's, it took him a week to do his due diligence, make sure he's comfortable with it, and make sure that he could deliver on what he says he's going to. So,
who are we currently using? So I'm thinking that you're wanting us to use Archer now. Who are we using? Who are we using right now? Right, because we're not using Archer right now. Archer starts in end of April.
Give me 1 second. This won't even take but a second. I apologize.
Yeah, that was like 41 cents we're paying now, so it's almost doubling.
Hey, Lisa, can you put your microphone down a little bit? Sorry, you're
You got me thinking
wanting
about mine.
picture
here.
capturing. Yeah.
Give me 1 second. I want to say vaguely that we had maybe a fixed rate on our program. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah, it was like 41. I thought it was like 40 or 41 cents, but when I signed up, it actually went up a little bit.
Well, it would have gone up because of that transmission.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, the transmission increase, which again, there's not much.
Yeah, I think it went
There was nothing I can do about that.
I think it went from like 41 to 43.
I'm there. So all right. Just as I
I
thought.
did jump on it though because
You guys were with Volunteer Energy, and if you guys remember, Volunteer Energy pushed through last year. Do you guys remember the Texas problem we had with the power outage and all that? One of the things that Volunteer did was they pushed through an increase for that and said it's force majeure, it's weather, and I was like, this is part of like you hedging it right. You know what I'm saying? That shouldn't
have to do with Ohio.
Well, this is in Texas.
Said that about Ukraine.
Right, and it is funny, but to your point, Ben, this happened in Texas, and there's other gas means here. So from my point, we entered into this agreement, and I feel like that shouldn't really affect us here. And in fact, Miss Trustee Knapp, your rate was ridiculously good. It was at 35 cents, 3.559 at the time, fixed rate for 2 years.
And then it went up to like 0.4.
Well, it went up a little bit for the transmission. Like you add on to that 0.07, and then on top of that, they were trying to add another 3 cents, I think it was, on top of it. The bottom line is what ended up happening with all that, unbeknownst to a lot of you, we went to bat for you. We went and talked with Volunteer. We talked to the PUCO about it, and they refunded the money back to the residents. So, yeah.
You guys have any influence with elections or anything? Because I'm just looking at the graph here, and it's weird how it works. Like it's really flat and stable for 4 years, and then magically goes up in January of 21. It skyrockets. It's weird. I don't know how that happens.
I don't have any influence
No
on
comment.
it. Yeah, no comment.
So it says.
It's crazy. It's weird. Oh, nothing at all.
Scott,
I'm going to sense a little bit of sarcasm.
It says that the SCO rate is 0.62680. The rate as of March 1st.
Yeah, because March has changed to a different. So in February, Ms. Knapp, in February it settled at 62, and then do you know what it settled at in March? So you take just call it 45, 0.45 plus 0.17.
So that is what it is for April.
That's the March number.
March. You mentioned March.
Looking at our chart here, just to make it apples to apples, it's 4.67 for March. That
Should have been about 62 cents. What was that?
It says their rate effective March 1st through March 29th is 0.6263.
Yeah. All they're doing is they're adding up the price of gas for March and then adding their adder of 0.17 onto it. Okay.
The NYMEX is the
Market.
the index
Traded
rate,
index.
right?
Yep, it's just an index.
So it's an index plus an adder.
Yep.
So it's what I understand is the index is the index. The 2% savings is off the adder.
Hold on a minute. The price of natural gas is what it is.
Yep.
And then this adder with the utility changes yearly.
Right.
And we're saying we're going to give you 2% off and then the ability to convert this whole thing. The idea is if we can get back into that, just call it $3.50, 35 cents per CCF, 32 cents a CCF, I'll flip it. Usually go add the 32 plus the adder and we've got our fixed rate. And then we're done. We're done messing with
So
variable.
once the Keystone pipelines reopen, we'll wait till the rate drops and then you'll lock in.
If you're talking about waiting for the next election, yes, I would. I would.
I didn't say anything about that.
Oh, it was.
I was getting hand signals from the
I was reading between the lines. But
So if it's, so it would be 70, you said it would be about 79 cents per CCF for residents.
well, right now, what did we just say? You just read it. So listen, the utility is what it is this month. You just read it off. Your rate is at 3,557.
Yeah.
It's fixed, so it's done. And we're saying because it would be unwise to enter into a fixed rate agreement today in a way up market, I'm going to put you at a variable rate till it relaxes some, and then I'll flip it into a fixed.
What is the trigger that's going to say, okay, this is relaxed some?
We're gonna.
lines, probably.
Well, you get two very good minds in this room that watch this every day.
It's like stock, same with stocks. You can measure volatility and all of that.
It
Yeah.
drops a little bit usually when the weather gets.
So it's running in the warmer.
Typically,
Unless
don't
before.
quote me as gospel here, but typically it will come down in the spring, and it just right this year it won't.
Except for this year.
It won't do that this year at all. So
So
Yeah.
the current, so a resident right now could jump on like for example, a 12-month plan. Let's see here, 12-month plan for 0.569 with Santana. Early termination is $100, no extra monthly cost. So if our residents, if we put everybody on this for a month, and this is over double what we're paying right now, right? Which
yeah, I mean, we set this 2 years ago when
Yeah.
market was fantastic, right? We set it at $1.79 or 0.179. I mean, that's crazy. It was so low. I mean, we killed it at the time we did this.
Yeah.
So, look, we only can deal with what we have in this market today, and this is clearly the best avenue for moving it forward.
So it would add on to the existing contract?
Well, we're going to seamlessly move from the one that ends in April to the new one with Archer in May. Starting
And the
in May.
residents get, this next couple days is time for them to get letters and understand that your
Yes.
prices are going to go up. Sorry, you've had a really great deal for the last 2 years, or at least the last year when
Yep.
things have gone up. You have not felt that.
Yeah,
It's time we have to reset.
yeah. And so,
if we stay with the current provider, give us an idea of the one that we hold, the Texas Hold'em provider.
yeah, they were at 30. So remember, I just said that we're going to get 3 cents off. I think there were 5 or 6 cents off. It's a little better, but not. This isn't like life savings. I think the savings is going to come through the fixed rate that we trigger later on to reduce volatility in these markets going up and down.
But the problem with the other providers, not so much what they've offered today, but the tactics and kind of like the approach, just speaking bluntly.
Yeah,
You know, there's better business partners in the market.
I really like the group. They've done us extremely well for 10 years. I'm just telling you that. But I have some that was an issue for me. There's another issue that we're managing right now. We've had some answering phone issues lately, and it's kind of irritating me, because I get it from you guys. You call me and say, they're not answering their phones. What are we doing here? I can't get them into the program or out of the program. I just, at this point, I want to make sure that with a program as large as this, we have adequate, customer service.
And that's ultimately your value proposition, right?
It is, absolutely.
So if we're
Yeah.
gonna,
I did get through right away when I called. I switched over
Yeah.
a couple months ago, finally.
Yeah.
After my better rate ended. So did you contact who are with currently, you said it's only 5 cents difference?
It would only be 2 to 3 cents difference.
Just
We said roughly 3 cents off here.
Archer's at 2%. The current provider may be a little better.
Call it 5%.
However,
Yeah.
there's quality issues and relationship issues that aren't sufficient. 2 cents is not sufficient to outweigh. That's what he's saying.
I agree.
Now, would we be able to get out of this?
It doesn't mean we can't go back to them later. I'm just saying for now, this makes sense to. This is the most and worst volatility with this war and the stuff that's happening. I think we just need some stability right now. That's what I need. I need stability. I don't need surprises like I had last February. I just want to make, this is a big group. This is a large group, and there's a lot of smart people in this township. And let me tell you, they are not scared to voice their opinion. So,
Which is good. At least we know where people stand. Right?
yeah.
Yeah, so, but this is so people's bills are gonna well over double, right? Except, fortunately, the cold weather will be over soon, so it won't.
Right.
Probably won't
Feel
hit
that
as hard, thank goodness, by the end of April, but,
If you think about it, you could not have foreseen this going
No.
back in May or June where it went from 29 cents to 36, and I'm sitting there going, maybe I should just wait. It'll come back down. And then it jumps to 36 and 40. And then I say, there's nothing driving this. There should be fundamentally, there's nothing driving it. Then it goes to 43 and 50. I'm like pulling my hair out because I've lost the opportunity.
but so what if, like, what would the contract say? Or what would allow us to get out of the contract if, we 2 months from now we just say we don't like this agreement, we want to go with somebody else?
I mean, it's a contractual agreement. All of your residents have no early termination fee as always, so they can leave anytime they want. But there isn't going to be another better contract. What I hear often is someone that'll go to the PUC or the Apples to Apples site and go, well, I can get it for 55 cents. Okay, and you enter into a 1 or 2 year agreement with a $100 early termination fee, and when rates come back down, they're complaining that their rate stinks again because they bought in a horrible timing.
You get it on either side.
Yeah, you've got to do this smartly and patiently and wait for the rates to come back down. And then if we get an opportunity to buy, we don't get to go back in time and say, well, we had it at so much lower and hope that we can get it again that low or buy more at that rate. We had to buy all of it back then. And I don't have a crystal ball, so my vision of 2020 is cloudy.
But what's the contract term?
Yeah, I was just gonna, since time is of the essence, I mean, how soon can we get this contract to review?
I'll have it to you by end of day today.
Okay.
Yeah.
But how long is the contract? So
it's a 2 year contract with the supplier in 1 year increments.
I mean, I do find it a little bit difficult to go into a contract with the promise that we're getting 2% off, but I think it's.
The question is, what is your alternative?
Well, what will it be in 6 months? I mean, what if we have to go?
We're not locking into a gas rate. We're locking into an adder and a reduction on an adder. But we're hedged against Columbia's adder, indexed against
Will
Columbia's
always be lower than that.
Yeah.
right? So what they're saying is we're not locking into $6.24. We're locked into whatever the index, the NYMEX index is, plus Columbia's adder less 2%.
So it's always better than what the residents can get from
Yeah.
Columbia Gas.
Always.
Right.
But
typically,
They can never come back to you and say, you
And
need me worse off.
essentially
Yeah,
what
right.
we're doing is we're forming a relationship. We're getting an incremental savings on the promise of stability down the road.
But what we would usually do is get a contract or 3 or 4 different suppliers with different competing rates, correct?
We
I think
did.
that's his job.
And I told you that one of them was at that. The other one the other group only does fixed rates. So I've eliminated them because their fixed rates we're not going to do right now. And that happened to be the group that just hit us out of nowhere with a force majeure letter. I'm not going to offer that to you. I mean, I've created a solution that I trust that I can deliver on and make good with. By the way, I hate to put anybody on the spot, but you have a resident expert in this room on this stuff. Ms. Kraft she's done this stuff years ago. So, you know, I hope that you think that what we're offering here is a sound.
Yeah, but you're under your benchmark, so
Yeah.
you know, we're your alternative source.
Yeah.
I think we just need to see the contract.
Yeah, I would.
both
If
for
you given us the contract, like I feel I'm you know.
You can
I'm
make it
always-
subject to council review or your own review. How's
I'm
that?
always hesitant.
It's
you
so-
always come in and then and you know I love you, but you always come in and we never see the contract and then.
I've always given you the contract. Michael's always had it.
Not in advance. And so then you want us to make a decision, and I would like to see the terms of the
Yeah.
contract. It's hard to kind of make a decision.
If we get the contract,
Well, the contract isn't the contract doesn't slow anything down. The contract is what it is. It will be exactly as I just showed you. All right. And my counsel's reviewed the contract, and I've been working on this thing with him for all last week. That's why you didn't get it earlier, because he and I were working on it.
I mean, this goes for any.
And then the Delaware County, we're taking this thing
Yeah.
because Genoa just approved it, subject to council's review.
Yeah.
It's going to the county prosecutor. It's actually going to be there today, and we're hoping to have it back by Wednesday.
Yeah, and I mean, this goes for any contract.
So if you make it-
but just we want to see the contract, have legal review, and make.
I'm not against you guys having time. That's why I'm saying that contract subject to your review or your approval is fine. I'm okay with that. I'm trying to offer you the solution. If you think it's terrible, you can always back out. That's fine. I'm giving you an out. That's the whole thing, to manage
We're
that.
gonna do a consensus.
Good.
And then we'll get the addendum at the end of today too to see.
What's that?
We'll get the second part, the addendum to the existing contract today.
Yeah, I'll send that over to you. And all that does is allow our addendum to our agreement just allows us to be able to take care of things like the eligible customer list. It's an administrative thing. I don't want to have we're just trying to improve our process so we don't have to have you guys find it. The annual, both electric and gas, the certifications with the PUCO are due every 2 years. They have to be notarized. There's no need for you guys to sign that. I can get us to do it and then notarize. It just helps us to do these types of things, and then gives us more flexibility to help you. So, but we could send that plenty of time for you guys to review it. But I do need today this so we can get this transition from one program to the next smoothly.
So when we see you next time in 2 years, just give us the contract before you come.
Yeah,
It's never happened.
We can do a special meeting if it.
this wasn't really like something I wanted to do it like this, but it was one of those things where I had thought of the idea.
Yeah.
I had to contact him. He had to go through the data to make sure he was comfortable with it. Then we're negotiating contracts. My counsel's looking at it. He's looking at it. It's just the timing was bad. That's all. Plus, your program's done in April. I gotta.
So just talk to us in February in 2 years?
Yeah.
Just give a little
We'll
more
be
time.
out in advance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well in advance.
I'm okay with that, but so you're saying that, okay, yeah, I'm okay with that. I just would like some more time to look at
So
it.
here's what I heard. Consensus to move forward with Archer Energy pending legal contract review for natural gas aggregation
Yes.
In board review, yeah.
and board review.
I'll take it to the next meeting.
Yep, so they've got consent, and if we need to get a resolution and sign it, then we'll just put together a quick 10-minute special meeting, come in, sign it.
I've got a resolution for you. I'll put together. Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. So can I, so I'm clear, what did just happen?
You tell us.
I didn't quite hear my normal motion and
Yeah.
voting.
It involves a hand gesture like this. I think we gave consent to move forward.
Okay.
Pending the board and legal counsel review.
Okay.
And any formality from there, we'll have a special meeting within 24 hours. And
To
get it done.
approve the contract and all that.
Anything that needs formal approval.
All right. Sounds good.
And you'll send us the contract soon.
I'll
right?
get it.
Okay, thank you.
And the
Thanks
and
for
the
coming in.
resolution. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Any agenda changes today?
Okay.
I have a few. I'd like to add a then and now that is in front of each of you for Delaware County Homeland and Emergency Management. This is our share of for Delaware County Homeland Security and Emergency Management Services. So it's then and now because the invoice is dated December 14th. I also forwarded to both Ms. Knapp and Mrs. Faust their annual report for your review at a later time. But so I'd like to add this to the consent agenda. And then I also have a slight change. I added the dollar amounts to the resolution related to moving the money for the fire fund. So that's sitting in front of you. And I'd like to change one of the other resolutions, the one where we're setting appropriations for the fire and rescue fund from $750,000 to $950,000 for the year.
You know what resolution number that is?
It is drafted as resolution number 105. From 700 to 950.
What page is that on the
It's on
template?
page 23.
700, 900?
950.
950, thank you.
That you're in now.
Yep, you get was it another? Okay, good. No, it's back in the back office. And there are checks for everybody to sign back there.
Oh, did I?
Thanks. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions on the consent agenda today?
No.
Prior minutes, nothing there. Make a motion to approve resolution 22-091, 22-092, the consent agenda.
Second?
There's a third. There's 3 on the consent agenda today.
Oh, the correction to resolution, that one.
Yeah.
Okay. I can handle that
Okay.
independently if you'd like.
That's fine. Ms. Knapp, you second?
Yes.
Mrs. Faust?
Yes?
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes. And then we have the correction to previous resolution. Make a motion to approve resolution 22-093, correction to resolution 22-086.
Second?
Ms. Faust?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes. Ms. Bonnie, are you handling that?
I am,
Okay.
yes. Thank you. So the first item under the zoning report is just the zoning meetings update. Tomorrow, March 8th at 6:30, we will be having the third hearing on application number zone-21-07. This is the BJ's and multifamily housing projects just north of Walmart, and we're hoping to wrap it up at the zoning commission level tomorrow evening. Following that is Thursday, March 17th at 6 p.m. BZA, Board of Zoning Appeals, will be hearing a couple applications. The first is for microcom signage. That's over in the Creekside Industrial Park. Following that is an area variance for an in-ground swimming pool at Oak Creek subdivision. And the last one is another area variance for Cross Creek to construct the deck. And so the second item under zoning report, after numerous hours of working on this with our council and the zoning team, we are ready to initiate the amendments to the Route 23 corridor overlay district. Now this is simply, the initiation is treated as an application submittal, so after today we'll take it to regional planning for review and a recommendation, and then following that, zoning commission and then the trustees.
Okay, and Ms. Bonnie, can you give a summary of changes just for the record, just so the new board, the new board and the residents listening in understand what, first of all, we, as most recall, we paused the overlay and repaused it for a time extension as we worked through some things there, but now are working towards formally reopening that. Several changes were made. The boundaries, I think, will be relevant. There was some residential concern over how close the overlay came to existing residential areas. I think we've buffered that better. And feel free to touch on the balance if you don't mind.
Sure. So one of the biggest changes, as Trustee Grumbles mentioned, is that we are amending the area maps for the overlay district. So particularly, we removed the multifamily sub-area entirely, as the multifamily would be within the mixed-use area sub-areas in the overlay district. And also, keeping everything more aligned with the Route 23 corridor, as opposed to expanding it further out. So most of the uses are the areas that were existing from multifamily or mixed use was changed to entirely commercial use. So hopefully that incentivizes commercial users to opt into our overlay district. Another thing that really triggered this is we are changing the permitted uses for the overlays. So for one thing, an example is we are requesting to prohibit the use of fueling stations entirely in the overlay district. Following that is just several formatting issues. When the team and I reviewed it, we kind of took it line by line to see what makes sense, what doesn't, what can we enforce, and some text changes to the signage, landscaping, moving the multifamily text within the mixed use, as that was our intent in the first place, and I think adding some definitions just to clarify some things, and maintaining the segment area, so there is density limitations in housing, and we did not intend to change those caps.
So there's still the zones with capacity.
There are,
residential?
yes,
Okay.
and then they would fall into the mixed use areas.
And can you share too the big one with the JED?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. So every application that would be submitted in the overlay district would be required to go into a joint economic development agreement, the JED.
So that's a substantial change, and really wish we would have had that on the front end prior. For the folks listening, there was a couple of questions on social media about what a JED is, and a joint economic development district essentially gives the township statutory authority to keep tax revenue in the township. Is the way I like to look at it, meaning that businesses that come here, we really have some latitude in how we decide to structure it. With forces us to have a municipal partner. We're in discussion with one now that I believe should be finalized soon, and just one partner this time, so we don't have the revenue to divide up amongst multiple parties. It's a very favorable agreement that we started. The township would get the overwhelming lion's share of the revenue. And for businesses that want to be a part of the township, traditionally they go into townships and avoid income tax. The problem with that is if you have a large entity with several employees that don't live in the township, for example, they still will pay tax revenue, where they live, income tax revenue. And so it's a small percentage on businesses that usually turns out, in talking with legal counsel, to be a net neutral on their tax, from a tax standpoint, because one tax is a write-off on another. And from an employee standpoint, really what we would hope to do is that with businesses who are employing folks here in Orange Township, as they earn revenue in Orange Township, if that revenue is going to be taxed, we believe we should get a portion of that. And so we'll work with organizations like RETA, the Regional Income Tax Authorities, and they'll manage the reciprocity and the balance between an employee's residence outside of the township and their employment in the township. So there's some local rules and laws that provide offset so that there's no double taxation. It's mitigated so that it's not overwhelming to these folks that are working here. It's really just shifting what they're already paying from other surrounding areas to the township and keeping our money here. The flip side of that, obviously, is with the increased revenue, we can make the road improvements, infrastructure improvements, and at a faster pace, since we're in need of those now. So it's a win-win, and everyone sees during campaign time a commitment to make developers and businesses pay their fair share. I think that's the line of the last, 6 years or so. And this is really, from a township standpoint, the statutory tool for doing that. So
I do have one question. I hate to be devil's advocate, but does something like a JED ever dissuade a company from coming into a township? Because, that's one advantage of locating in a township.
Sure.
Is not having it.
well, I
Is there
think
anything on that?
Yeah, I think that is something that has been brought up in the past, and it's typically brought up by advocates of other economic development tools like TIFs. So they say that about one tool in order to push positivity and traction towards one that's more favorable for them, and typically tied to politics. To be candid, a TIF
That was
is.
just my
Yeah,
own
but,
personal
and-
but if you look at the when I looked into this and I talked to multiple law firms about it when this question originally came up, because it's a net neutral, it's not anything that is going to dissuade
You don't really care.
they
It was
don't
just my own
they look
question.
yeah
I actually
they
made it
look at
myself.
they look at it as not a big deal. Most of the employees, as I said, especially in Orange Township, when you go and talk to the businesses, they don't live here. They're driving in. And another campaign talking point for just as long is we need jobs for our residents here, so people aren't leaving to go to work or whatever. High paying, good paying job. And so, that's indicative that the research finds that most people are commuting in and out. So they're paying tax elsewhere. So again, it's really just redirecting.
Yeah, getting our share.
Correct.
Thank you.
I think it's also evidenced by what we saw with Sheets. As we've communicated out, the township wasn't in a great position there with the subsequent legal situation. And when we started to discuss options and negotiate, they really didn't hesitate at all about the opportunity to join the JED. Most businesses also understand that money has to stay in the township and continue to make improvements in the community they're in. So they view it as a win-win as well. All right, thank you, Michelle. So we have a resolution here to get that process started, correct?
Correct.
All right, make a motion to approve resolution 22-094, initiate an amendment to the zoning resolution and certify the change as a zoning amendment to the zoning commission for public hearing.
Second?
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Mr. Rumbles?
Yes. And Michelle, with that too, with BJ's coming up, I just asked that the conversations that we had planned to have there in that regard, maybe at the next meeting or the one following, we can get back with Mr. Griggs and find out if there's been any headway there.
Will do.
Thank you. All right.
Morning, thank you. First thing on the operations report for this meeting is essentially a second redo, if you will, of the county engineer's road improvements estimate. As you may recall, a couple weeks ago, we approved the initial roads estimate. The county had been out since that time doing some core samples within the roadway, and similar to a situation that arose last summer when we were doing our 2021 improvement program, we discovered some of the streets that we were looking to pave this year were not constructed appropriately several decades ago. What that means for us is that the cost to replace the road now or to repair the road climbs substantially. So the resolution before you is to essentially redo the original estimate that we approved several weeks ago with new numbers. What that will do is increase our costs roughly $260,000, which does include a contingency fund as well. That will allow us to fix these roads and fix them the right way this time around and avoid change orders this late summer, early fall when we get into the paving process. The second item is a REA. This will allow Michelle to enter into REA with the county engineer's office regarding the East Powell Road. As you probably recall, the county did widening and utility relocation and all kinds of improvements to East Powell Road over the last couple of years. They did not include a multi-use path with that project in an effort to consider that path down the road. We'd like to get an REA in motion now to get cost estimates in place, which will allow us to then chase some funding to eventually fund that project. It may be a year or so down the road, but this is obviously baby step number one in getting that done. The next three items on the report are ARP expenditures. I will highlight that two of those have already been approved in the past. These are just reallocations to ARP funding as opposed to the sources where they were originated from in the past, one last year and one earlier this year. And the third one in that batch is the audio visual improvements for the Thompson, the new conference room that we built next door. And I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has on those 5 items.
Only suggestion would be to get this online somehow, Michelle, so that residents are aware, and as we start, we can kind of keep them up to date, because hey, the cones are coming for a week or whatever, just from a communication. I know most of them won't be thrilled that we're getting fixed. I see some of these roads that I need. So
yeah, last year, just for reference, last year we waited till we had the actual bid approved to post those online, because there is always the potential for bids to come in high, and we have to make some more adjustments to omit some roads. So we can put it up now, what we're aiming to do, if you guys would like to. If not, we can wait till we get the actual bids.
I'm fine waiting. I think that's what we did last year. It worked well.
Yeah.
I just want to redo follow the same process.
Yep.
It seemed to go really well last
Yep.
year.
You got it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Make a motion to approve. Any questions before I get going? Make a motion to approve resolution 22-095 to amend resolution 22-056 authorizing execution of Delaware County 2022 Orange Township road improvements with revised estimate agreement.
Second.
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes. Make a motion to approve resolution 22-096 authorizing a township administrator execution of a request for engineering assistance with the Delaware County Engineer's Office regarding East Powell Road estimate for multi-use asphalt pad.
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes. Make a motion to approve resolution 22-097 authorizing an expenditure from the American Rescue Plan funds under the township standard allowance to Edge Technologies for technology improvements in the Thompson conference room.
Second.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes. Make a motion to approve resolution 22-098 authorizing an expenditure from the American Rescue Plan funds under the township standard allowance to state security for the renovations to the North Orange Aquatic Center entry.
Second.
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes. Make a motion to approve resolution 22-099 authorizing expenditure from the American Rescue Plan funds under the township standard allowance for the resurfacing of Walker Woods Park playground.
Second.
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Thank you, board.
Chief.
Good morning, board. The first thing on the fire reports, actually the first two are about the same item. First one is approving employment, the job description for a fire support coordinator. And the second one is to appoint to position Ms. Patty Lewis to that position.
I have a couple of questions on that. I think we have Ms. Bonnie, don't we have an executive session at the end here today?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to push that to the end,
Okay.
just to get some clarity there. That's all right. Apologize for not covering that at the front end of the meeting. I'm okay approving the position description. Any questions with that?
Nope.
Nope. Make a motion to approve resolution 22-100, approve employment position description for fire support coordinator.
Second.
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
All right, and then my next one on the agenda would be to accept transfer of 135.47 hours of sick leave to firefighter paramedic Tyra Albal, who was one of our recent hires. We're looking to accept, transfer his sick. He came from the city, so he's not able to get the vacation time, just the sick time.
Questions?
Nope.
Make a motion to approve resolution 22-101, accepting transfer of 135.47 hours of sick leave to the credit of firefighter paramedic Tyler Albaugh.
Second?
Mrs. Bowles?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
All right. Okay, a couple things. The first thing is approving and accepting a revised certificate of resources. This was revised because it was our end of year balance update. So our carryover balance, we estimate that when we originally do our certificate, and this was to update the balances with actual year-end numbers. So that's the first one. The second one is a little bit more in depth. It's kind of 3 steps all in one here. It's according to prosecutor Mr. Batts, had some conversations with him recently regarding the money that the revenue that we bring in from our EMS billing process, where they bill the third-party insurance providers for our EMS services. And as a reminder, this is not a cost to the resident if their insurance does not pick it up. But right now, that money is tagged as fee income into our fire levy fund, Fund 2191. And according to Mr. Batts, that should be in its own fund. So part of this resolution is creating fund number 2192, which means when we book that money, we will book it to this fund. The second part is moving the existing money that we have booked to that, to the fire, to fire from Fund 2191, moving 700,000 of it over to Fund 2192. And then we've got about $715,000 in the separate EMS lockbox account, moving that cash, 700,000 of that cash over to our operating account, because we can't spend any of the money. It just sits there in the lockbox account. So moving the money over to pay for his fire truck, or part of his fire truck. Doesn't pay for all of it. So and then we would reclassify that expense, because we billed the entire 1.014 million or whatever to fire. We would take 700,000 of it and apply it to the new Fund 2192 EMS billing fund. Okay, so a lot going on in that resolution. Are there any questions about it? Okay, good. And then last but not least, when we establish the fund, we have to establish the appropriations for that fund. So the last one is establishing appropriations so that we can pay for 700,000 towards your truck. And then as more money comes in this year, our thought is, you've talked about another medic, maybe using some of this money towards your medic. Okay? That's what, and then I do have a we balanced the accounts by March 2nd this month. So you also have the February financial report. As a reminder, this is going to be listed in the template from now, or the journals from now on. That way I don't have to keep separate records of our financial review. So kind of accomplishes, eliminating an additional record needed. So our ending cash balance as of February 28th, 2022 is $21,644,691.36. Investments of $8.7 million with Fifth Third and $10 million with Star Ohio for around $19 million. Our fund or department cash balances are general fund at $6.8 million, roads at $2.6, fire at $4.5, and parks at $4.9. Our expenses year to date through February 28th are $3.6 million, and our tax revenue is $312,000. Okay. According to Treasurer Ranke's office, we should be getting our first quarter property taxes this month. Okay. That's what I got.
Do you want to?
I'll table that for the next one. I want to get the minutes out. So we'll talk about the investment committee update at the next meeting, so I can get everything out in advance.
Any questions? Got a few here. Thank you.
I did have a few today, thanks.
Make a motion to approve resolution 22-102, accepting and approving revised certificate of resources.
Second?
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes. The motion to approve resolution 22-103, creation of fire and rescue services, ambulance services, and emergency medical services fund, and transfer of monies collected from EMS services to this new fund, with the exception of certain monies in the lockbox EMS account to be moved to the primary operating account, fire levy fund, to pay part of the cost of the new fire truck.
Second?
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes. Motion to approve resolution 22-104, revising and or increasing permanent appropriations established in resolution 21-389.
Second?
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes. That's it. Right?
We did that one.
Okay.
Yep, we're good.
Ms. Bonnie, it's okay if we move the executive session to the front end there and we can discuss it as a board and then turn back out and kind of go through the last several resolutions since they're all
That sounds good.
okay. Is that okay with the board?
Yes.
What are we on? 105, right? 506.
Whatever.
104, so 105's next.
Make a motion to approve resolution 22-105 to enter into executive session to consider the employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of public employees or officials.
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes. Invited to attend board, Fiscal Officer Kraft, Ms. Bonnie, and HR Director, or HR
And
Management.
Val.
Okay, and Ms. Bunting.
And you want to do the chief too?
Sure, Chief McNeil. Thank you.
Okay, so I need,
Let me know when you're ready.
what number are we on? This one?
We're
on 105,
left
right?
at 105, yes.
106.
We are ready.
Make a motion to approve resolution 22-106, return to regular session.
Second?
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes. Right, while in executive session, we discussed employment matters pertaining to the fire department, new position, and transition. Ms. Bonnie, do you have is the resolution in here?
For the appointment, yes.
Not for the appointment, for,
I have it right here if you want to read it.
I have the appointment resolution. I don't have the resolution for the front. Okay. Want to handle that?
Oh, you have it?
I hand it to you.
Thank you. Thanks. Make a motion to approve resolution 22-107, termination of administrative assistant receptionist Jessica Galante. Okay, Gallant.
Second?
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes. Have to go back a bit here in the packet. Make a motion to approve resolution 22-108, appointment to position of fire support coordinator and establishment of compensation. Also revising resolution 22-100 to include payroll, full-time payroll responsibilities
In all departments.
in all departments. For all
Wait a
departments.
second.
Second?
Okay, thank you. I missed that one. Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp? Mr. Grumbles?
Yes. Right. Let's do the agreements.
The employment agreements, yeah.
Bear with me. Go
Page
ahead.
25.
This one.
Right, got the first one here. Make a motion to approve resolution 22-109, establishing the terms and conditions of employment for Fire Chief Nathan McNeil.
Second?
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes. And make a motion to approve resolution 22-110, establishing the terms and conditions of employment for the Director of Operations, Silas Bowers.
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes. Steve,
That's it.
that's everything. Anything further for the meeting today?
Nope.
Make a motion to approve resolution 22-111, meeting adjourned.
Second?
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp? Mr. Grumbles?